Morning television is usually a safe space, a bright corner of the day designed to lift spirits rather than unsettle them. It is built on a delicate recipe: laughter over coffee, friendly banter between presenters, a splash of celebrity charm, and conversations that never probe deeply enough to sting. The set itself, with its soft colors, comfortable sofas, and light pouring in through London skyline windows, whispers reassurance to the millions tuning in from their kitchens and living rooms. But on the day Meghan Markle arrived at the This Morning studio, something in the air felt different. Even before she stepped onto the set, there was a current of anticipation running through the crew. Camera operators adjusted their rigs twice over. Producers whispered in corners, flipping nervously through notes. There was a sense that the usual script, light, cheerful, inconsequential, might not hold. The audience clapped as Meghan was announced, polite but subdued, as though they too sensed the fragility of the occasion. She entered gracefully, her walk measured, her expression sculpted into the kind of public smile she had perfected long ago, poised, controlled, a smile that offered nothing beyond its surface. Alison Hammond, with her effervescent warmth, rose instinctively and opened her arms. She was famous for her hugs. They had disarmed Hollywood's most guarded stars. But Meghan extended only her hand. A firm, polite handshake. Alison covered it with laughter. But in that second, a subtle shift occurred. The handshake felt like a line drawn, a sign that intimacy was not to be expected here. Dermot O'Leary welcomed her smoothly, guiding her toward the sofa. "It's wonderful to have you here, Meghan," he said, his tone practiced but kind. "Thank you," she replied, her voice clipped and cool. "It's always interesting to be here." The pause before interesting hung in the air like a challenge. They began with safe ground. Dermot asked about Meghan's current projects, her work with charities, the stories she wanted to tell. Meghan leaned back, shoulders squared, speaking with a deliberate authority. "What I'm focused on," she said, "is purpose, not spectacle. It's about shaping conversations that matter, that elevate voices too often ignored." The words were polished, her cadence rehearsed, but there was an edge beneath the polish. It was less a response to Dermot than a proclamation to the world. Alison chuckled, trying to soften the mood. "And of course, people are always curious about your life now, your home, your balance with family. How are you feeling in this new chapter?" Meghan's lips curved, but her eyes remained cool. "Happiness isn't something gifted to you, Alison. It's a decision. I've made mine." The audience gave a hesitant applause. Alison laughed, but the laughter rang hollow. It didn't roll as it usually did across the studio like a warm blanket. It faltered, strained. When Alison mentioned Harry, Meghan's expression hardened. "You don't ask working men how they balance their careers with their wives," she said firmly. "Harry and I both have schedules. We manage as any couple does." A ripple of discomfort passed through the studio audience. It wasn't anger. It was unease, the kind that spreads when a light-hearted question meets an unexpectedly sharp blade. Alison attempted to recover, chuckling, fair enough. But people do adore you two together." "My children," Meghan interrupted, "aren't morning show material." The air thinned. The studio lights seemed suddenly harsher, their warmth gone. Dermot shifted in his seat, fingers tugging lightly at his tie, a practiced gesture of calm. Sensing the tension, he steered the conversation toward her Netflix projects. Meghan launched into an answer about creativity and vision, but the moment Alison mentioned the financial rumors, whether she and Harry had over-negotiated their deals, the temperature dropped again. "Would you ask a man that?" Meghan's tone was ice. "Would you question if he's worth the money? The truth is, I know my value. I've earned my seat at the table." A smattering of applause followed, more dutiful than enthusiastic. The studio felt unsettled. A boat rocked by waves it wasn't built to withstand. And then Alison, ever determined to bring things back to levity, ventured into the most volatile territory. "You've been open before about the monarchy," she began lightly. "Do you still feel the same way about it?" The room fell still. Meghan crossed her legs, her voice even but cutting. "Tradition doesn't equal righteousness. History doesn't erase harm. I don't romanticize institutions that wound." The warmth in the studio cooled immediately. Allison's practiced laugh died before it began. Dermot's gaze flickered toward the production desk as though seeking guidance. The audience shifted uncomfortably in their seats, but Allison pressed on. Something in her, usually endlessly patient, cracked under the weight of Megan's tone. "But Megan," she said carefully, her voice stripped of its usual laughter, "you gained your platform through that institution. It gave you visibility, recognition, and now you criticize it so openly. Isn't that contradictory?" The words landed like stones. Megan's eyes narrowed, her chin lifting. "Silence protects abusers, Allison. Silence maintains harm. I will never remain silent, not to protect tradition, not to protect image. My voice matters more than their comfort." The clash was undeniable now. Allison's warmth was gone, replaced by something harder. Frustration, perhaps even anger. Her laughter had vanished, her smile taut. Dermot spoke less and less, his attempts to mediate drowned beneath the storm brewing on that sofa. The exchange grew sharper, each question more pointed, each answer more biting. The atmosphere was no longer morning television. It was a battleground lit by studio lamps. The audience sat frozen, torn between fascination and discomfort. Finally, Megan straightened, her body tense, her tone final. "If this is the kind of conversation you want, then I think we're done here." Before Allison could respond, Megan rose. The suddenness of the movement startled even the cameraman. She smoothed her dress, adjusted her posture, and walked off the set. The cameras caught a glimpse of her back as she exited, then cut quickly to a wide shot of the stunned presenters. The silence was deafening. Allison blinked, her hands clasped tightly together. Dermot cleared his throat, searching for words. "Well," he managed, "that was unexpected." The audience offered a hesitant round of applause, unsure if it was encouragement or release. In the control room, producers scrambled, whispering frantically about what to cut, what to keep, how to spin the narrative. On the sofa, Allison sat stiffly, the edges of her warmth frayed beyond repair. For once, her famous laugh could not be summoned. That day's episode of This Morning entered television history, not for the easy chatter or gentle cheer it promised, but for the rare moment when the mask of morning TV slipped, and what emerged was raw tension, unfiltered truths, and the clash of two women who refused to yield. Viewers at home replayed the clip again and again, dissecting each gesture, each pause, each inflection. Commentators filled columns with interpretations. Was Megan too defensive, too sharp? Was Allison too pushy, too insistent? Or had the truth simply been too jagged for a space built on softness? In the end, the memory of that morning lingered far longer than the flowers on the coffee table or the glow of the studio lights. It lingered because it was real, unpolished, and unsettling. The kind of television that breaks free from the safety of routine and burns itself into collective memory.